Hey guys, Brooke and Laura here with Legal Talk Tuesday, and I can't even remember if we were here last week. Were you here last week? No. Okay, it's been a little while, and I think Laura did it before because I was sick with bronchitis. So it's been a long couple weeks, but thank you guys for joining us today. One of our core missions here at NVL is to educate educate our Kansans on your legal options, because sometimes that can just be a mysterious veil for clients, for our Kansans, and it's not always an easy process to navigate the legal system. And so we make it our mission to empower you with the information and knowledge that you need to make informed decisions, because you need to be able to protect your family, your business, your health. And so one thing that we do here at MyVirtual.Lawyer is collaborate with other groups. We like to help other groups by providing information to their members. Last week, we co-sponsored a seminar in Little Rock with a local women's organization who has a large community presence on Facebook, just a really great group. And so a big part of their mission is networking, relationship building. And so with this particular seminar, part of it was networking and bringing people who had common interests together. But Laura actually had put out a poll within the group asking what they most wanted to hear about, because we didn't want to just get up there and blab about whatever we felt like they may want to hear about. So overwhelming majority responded that they wanted to hear about estate planning first. And so the seminar that we did was on estate planning, and we wanted to kind of share with you. It was a really great seminar. It wasn't just us talking at them. It was very interactive. We had some wonderful comments from our participants, the people that were there, and a lot of value added, not only by what we brought to the table, but also the interactions and the value from their experiences and their backgrounds and businesses. And so we want to talk about three things that were featured by those attendees.
Exactly. It was an amazing experience. So the interaction part of any kind of group setting is, especially when you've got a couple people up at the front talking at the group, it's super helpful, because my background is, teaching basically with Westlaw and that kind of thing. And with a former job that I had. And it gets boring. Nobody pays attention if all it is people talking at you. So it was really great to have that interaction. And one of the biggest features one of the biggest things that came away in our kind of tip number one is ignoring things does not make it go away. So the ostrich approach to planning for what to do with your stuff and your family when you pass away, not necessarily the best approach. And we were really lucky, and we had a woman reach out to us when we first started planning this seminar. Her name is Rhonda Ely, and I'm saying her name because she is very vocal about sharing her story and being an advocate and educating people on why they need to do some estate planning. Her personal story was really powerful, and she shared that with the group, and it led to several discussions. And when we're talking about estate planning, that's the legal term of things, and probably people have heard that before, but it's literally planning for what happens to your stuff, your estate, when you pass away. And that's not just your stuff, but like Brooke said earlier, it's your business, your health, your children, all sorts of things. So again, ignoring it doesn't make it go away. Rhonda's story is that she was very unexpectedly widowed at an early age, and they each had their own children and had not planned for their death, either one of their deaths, with what to do with the house. They had a pretty big mortgage, all that kind of thing. And within a few months, unfortunately, after her husband passed away, within a few months, she lost her job. And as a result, she couldn't pay the mortgage, and her house was foreclosed on. And so she makes it kind of a life mission of hers to talk to women, especially, but people in general, about, you can't just ignore it. They had apparently had conversations and were like, we'll deal with this at some point. But that some point came, and it really caused a lot of havoc in her life. And just a little planning ahead of time would have been really beneficial for her. So just keep that in mind, especially if you have children. You really need to sit down and plan for what's going to happen after you pass away. Tip number 2 kind of goes along with that, and you need to plan to protect yourself and to protect your family. And protecting yourself, people don't really think about that when they're thinking of estate planning. They think about what to do with their stuff, their house, their car, that kind of thing. If you do have children, you want to take care of your children. But estate planning also is important to protect yourself, your health care, your wishes, and that kind of thing. It does not have to be a painful, long, crazy conversation. It really needs to be an interactive conversation, an in-depth conversation that you have with yourself. That's very important. What do I want? What do I want to have happen? And I can't say enough how sometimes we talk about how lawyers, we think they're always necessary to be helpful. You have alternatives to how you talk to your lawyer, but lawyers are super helpful and really kind of necessary when you're talking about estate planning, because they have the knowledge to help protect your stuff and you and your health. And, Brooke will talk about this in a minute, but those online things that you can get for free or for $5 or $40, they're just not the same as having a conversation with an attorney who can draft things specifically for you. So again, that conversation, the whole process of planning for what to do in the event of your death doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be hard. You know it's going to happen, and not thinking about it doesn't make it not happen. It just makes everybody, have to go through a lot of pain and suffering after the fact, more so than just grieving for your loss. So keep that in mind. Have that conversation with yourself, your lawyer, your spouse, if you have one, your family, parents, siblings, whatever it might be. Start thinking about what to do to protect yourself and to protect them. There are different ways to make your wishes known, but you want to make sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, because otherwise things people can poke holes in things. We like to reference celebrity cases and stuff sometimes, and I don't know if anybody has been reading their BuzzFeed or Newsweek or that kind of thing the last couple of weeks, but Aretha Franklin, her son has found some handwritten wills all around the house, and so they're now back in court with her estate because the son is saying that she wanted him to have control of all of her assets instead of the personal representative that is currently in control. It's not just you. If you think that you don't need to do it because you're not Aretha Franklin, you're wrong. But just know that people like Aretha Franklin also have these problems because, again, those I's and T's weren't properly dotted and crossed. So just keep that in mind. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. You have to plan to protect yourself and your family.
Right. And so like Laura mentioned, number 3 is just kind of what documents you need, an overview. And I know a lot of people turn to preset forms, whether that's online or even at Office Depot. But like Laura said, those are not sufficient and they're not going to adequately protect you. They're not customized for you. They're not customized for your life, your wishes. We have seen people come in and one of the children were not included on the form because it was a form with 2 lines. So, 2 out of the 3 children made it. And so I'm pretty sure that wasn't the intent. But it's things like that. There are also things that you may not realize that you need to protect. So just to reiterate, Laura, it's really important to at least have a conversation with an attorney who can kind of walk you through and explain to you what things are, what you need to look out for, and what you need to include. We even had a financial advisor at our seminar last week who told the crowd that she has seen financial institutions not accept those documents. And we have also seen that. And so you want to make sure that you have all the right things, that they're properly executed, because there are different ways to execute different documents. There are requirements, and if they're not executed properly, they may not be valid. And so that's really important because you want to make sure that your wishes are fulfilled once you've taken that step to do that. Also, things vary from state to state. So Arkansas state law, it's not the same as Texas state law. And if you don't know that and you go online and just pull off a form or edit something from Google, you may not be getting something that meets all the requirements here in Arkansas. So just keep that in mind. Powers of attorney are really important. Powers of attorney for healthcare specifically address any healthcare needs that you have. I did Medicaid law for a while, and one of the things that was kind of most regretted for healthcare is that people weren't executing powers of attorney for healthcare. And so their family members were stuck having to make decisions. And it may not be the person they really wanted to make those decisions for them. And so if you execute a power of attorney for healthcare, you can direct those things to your doctor, to your hospital, to whoever, and appoint somebody to be in charge of that. You also can appoint somebody separately to be in charge of your finances, which is usually a general power of attorney for that. And I've also seen that in situations where people are dealing with banks. Also in the Medicaid scenario, which is really common, you need a power of attorney to be able to help you get into assisted living facility. And these powers of attorney, all of these documents have to be executed while you are of sound mind, is the legal term for it. So that means you have to be able to be mentally competent to execute those documents. And if a doctor has deemed that you're not because you have dementia or because you are in some kind of comatose state, whatever the situation is, then you cannot do it. And it puts your loved ones in a really hard place. Also be aware that powers of attorney are only valid during your lifetime. So once they pass, you can't take a document up to a bank and say, oh, well, I was their power of attorney. Well, that's all good and well when they're alive, but when they've passed, if they haven't done any other documentation, then you can't get access to that bank account or whatever that you need to do to carry out their wishes. The next document is a living will. This is the most powerful document that you can have to express your wishes about life-saving, prolonging, measures. So we like to cite the Terry Schiavo case. And so I knew I was going to say it wrong. But I don't know if you remember this. Many of you probably do. It drug out over maybe a decade. And in this situation, the lady she didn't have any life functions. She was just being kept alive by machines. And there was kind of a struggle between her parents and between her spouse on whether or not to keep her alive. And so, it went all the way up in a huge court battle and prolonged her life way longer than she probably wanted because she didn't ahead of time lay out what kind of, life-saving measures she wanted. If that was something she wanted, they were left with the burden of deciding that, and they did not agree on that. And she didn't appoint somebody for that. So it was just a bad situation. So you want to be clear when you cannot express yourself, what you want for your life, for life-saving measures, and a living will do that for you. Also, a will and trust. Not everybody needs a trust, but sometimes it's beneficial. Laura's the expert here for us, and so if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to her. But a will is really the document most people think about when they're thinking about planning their estate, and it allows you the ability to leave things the way that you want to who you want and appoint people to execute that for you and to manage those things. And also what a lot of people don't know is it gives you the ability to suggest, it's not final until a court approves it, but to suggest guardians for your children if you have children. So even if you don't have a dollar to your name, if you have children, you need a will.
Exactly. So that's just a few kind of tips about estate planning from a seminar that we did with a local women's group here last week, which is why we weren't on our live last week, because the conversation lasted for another hour after we were finished talking. I don't know that we were
Exactly. You were going to try.
Yeah. So just to wrap up our conversation for today, one of the things Brooke and I would really like to offer out our services to you. So if you are in a Facebook group or a networking group and you would like to have, a hosted seminar, something like that, where you invite us to come and just talk about, things that you need to know about your small business, your estate planning, your, divorce cases, whatever it might be. We get the most requests for divorce, we get the most requests for estate planning and for small business protection. Just reach out to me. My email address is on our website, MyVirtual.Lawyer. It's just Laura at MyVirtual.Lawyer. Reach out to me and let me know kind of what group you're with and what you'd like to have us come talk about. And we'll work with you. And, the education of Arkansans is super important to us. If you're not local here in Central Arkansas, we can, as you can see, we do a lot of online things, and we are a virtual law firm. So we can do seminars virtually as well. So keep that in mind. Even if it's just a part of your Facebook group, we can do a seminar where people can interact and do some Q&A. So thank you so much for listening to us today. And, feel free to reach out, like I said, if you want to have us come talk to your group, either virtually or in person here in Central Arkansas. And we would like to invite you back next week at 11:30 for another Legal Talk Tuesday. And that subject will be announced probably next Monday. So again, thank you for watching, and you guys have a great week. Thanks.